Someone in Colorado is buying a piece of land right now. Maybe a few acres, maybe a ranch, maybe in the mountains, maybe in the plains, maybe a lot on the edge of town. But they have no absolutely idea what they're about to get into. They found it on LandWatch, Zillow. Well, price seemed reasonable, photos were beautiful, there's a view of Pikes Peak, and then they're thinking, this is it, this is our dream. 6 months later, they find out they can't build on it. Or there's no way to get water. Or the road that looks like it goes to the property actually is an illegal access road. And now you have a piece of land that you can't use, can't build on, and well, it's going to be hard to sell. I cannot, and I don't want this to happen to you. So let's talk about what you actually really need to know when you're buying land in Colorado. Buying land is one of the coolest things ever a person can do. The idea of owning a piece of Colorado, especially up here in the mountains or in the cities, you get to have open space or maybe some more room to breathe, and well, that's a powerful thing. And it can absolutely be a great investment and a great decision. But the land is also one of the most misunderstood purchases in real estate. Most buyers come from the world of buying houses, and you can fix the square footage or make the kitchen pretty or know what school district you're in. But land is a different animal. And there's animals on land. The questions are different. The due diligence is different. And mistakes are much harder to undo. Most people think buying land is simple because you don't have an inspection. There's nothing that you have to look at. All you look at is the view, the land. It's easy. It's actually more complicated. Not harder to find, but significantly harder to properly evaluate, because with a house, most of the big problems show up in an inspection. With land, the big problems, they're invisible. They're buried either in county records, water filings, access easements, zoning documents, or so much more. And unlike a bad house where you can fix the roof, fix the kitchen, update a system, bad land purchases are generally unfixable. You can't will water onto a property if you have no water rights. You can't manufacture a road if it doesn't exist. I'm Jason Roshek, the team leader at Jason Roshek & Partners with Coldwell Banker and beyond. We work with buyers and sellers all across the Pikes Peak region, from Colorado Springs, Woodland Park, Divide, Manitou, Cascade, Florissant, Cripple Creek, Green Mountain Falls, and Fountain. That's called fill. And everywhere in between. A lot of those communities sit right in land purchase territory. Rural, mountain, off-grid. Buyers who are dreaming of space, privacy, and building something from the ground up. I've helped people navigate land purchases that went beautifully, and I've had people avoid land purchases that would have been financially devastating. And today I'm going to share what separates those two outcomes, the good and the bad. Here's what we're going to cover. Water. The single most important and misunderstood issue in Colorado land purchases. Access and utilities, and what does buildable actually mean? Zoning, covenants, a paper trail that determines you can actually do what you want to do with your land. If there's one thing you walk away with knowing from this video, let it be this. In Colorado, water is everything. It's the new gold. Colorado is what's called a prior appropriation water right state. That means all our water does not belong to us, it belongs to everybody else. Water belongs to who has the legal right. So people in Kansas, Texas, around us, California, they have more water rights than we do. The phrase you'll hear is first in time, first in right. That can be mostly true most of the time. If someone establishes a water right in a creek back in 1887, those outrank someone that just bought water or land next to you possibly. This is fundamentally different from what people think, like in Minnesota, Iowa, where there's water everywhere. Here's what you need to know for any land purchase in Colorado. Does the property have a water source? And is it legal? There are three main options. You have a well, a water tap connected to a water district or a city, or you have surface rights, which would be a permitted type of well. So you need to know those. For wells, we know if there's an existing well, that's great, but we need to know the condition and when it was permitted. Well permits are issued by the State of Colorado Water Division, and we can get you the phone numbers. You just call and we can get that set up for you. A well permit has three types of wells. So one is the household well. Does not mean you can do anything. It's only for your house. Can't wash a car. Here is what you need to know for any land purchase in Colorado. Does the property have a water source, and is it legal? There are three options, basic options for wells: and water tap, and then that's hooking into a city or community, or surface rights. Each has its own set of questions. So for wells, there are three types of wells. You have a household, a domestic, and a household with animals. The reason you need to know that is if you want animals or critters or horses, you cannot just have a household well. If you're on 35 acres, you'll probably have a domestic well and you can water crops, wash your car, have a garden. So you need to know all of those types of ways you're going to get water. Sometimes you might even want to have a cistern to fill, it goes from your well to the cistern so you have extra water storage. In the state of Colorado, you have to get a well permit or get the right to dig a well. For vacant land without a well, this is where a buyer, you can get in trouble. So just because a property doesn't have a well doesn't mean you can't necessarily drill one. Again, you go back and ask the state of Colorado for a well permit. There are some areas in Colorado that you will not be able to dig a well. For community water systems, this can be a benefit. If the property is served by an HOA or a water district, you find out what the tap fee are, you run the water line, and it can cost $10,000, $15,000, $30,000 to run it to the house. This may not show up on all the listings. Also, if a piece of land has no water solution, it could be significantly less and it's less priced. And in some cases, it's not even worth seeing unless you just want a piece of land to sit on. I've seen buyers fall in with a 35-acre tract, and the nearest water tap was $25,000. And there's still no guarantee you're going to get water. Water is the new gold. This is just the first layer. Water is the first layer, because even if you solve the water question with a cistern, you still have to get to the property, get power to the property, and actually be able to build on the property. The next point is where a lot of buyers think they're safe, but they're not. A buildable lot. It's one of those phrases that go thrown around on land listings without nearly enough scrutiny. Just because a listing says it's buildable does not. Even when a property generally can be built on, the cost to get it built ready can be shocking. Cutting down trees, putting in a driveway, access for utilities, and the permits. The access. This one can be sneaky. You can look on a piece of paper, on a map, or on Google, on your phone, and you can assume, hey, I can get to that property. But there is a critical distinction between a road that exists and a road that you thought you can use. In rural Colorado, up in the mountains, Teller County, or way out east in Rush, Colorado, you may have to cross a private property. If there isn't an easement, you might not have legal access to it. This is called landlock. And It's more common than you think, but you still have the right. You just have to go through some work to get the right to get an access to your property. Just because the neighbor has always let people drive through his property, that is not a legal access. You also want to consider the condition of the road. Is it maintained? Who's going to maintain it? Who's going to pave it? Who's going to shovel it? Is there a road maintenance agreement between the owners, or does you have to do the whole road? These are conversations that need to happen before you buy, close, not after. Utilities. For land in and around Colorado Springs and the Front Range here in Colorado, utilities may be accessible. But as you move into the mountains, whether it's out in Hartselle or somewhere, you need to know what you're getting into. So, electric. Is there power to the property? If not, it could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. In some cases, in remote areas, you might have solar or battery or even wind, which that would not suck. It may be more viable to have that. Then you have propane versus natural gas. Most communities will run out in the distance, will have some mostly propane. Usually you'll see natural gas only in the cities. Another one that people always forget is this device. Internet is also important, cell coverage. Now, in this world that we live in, we need to be able to work maybe remotely. So you're going to need to know, do you have Starlink? Does Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, do any of those things work? How are you going to get to internet? One of the other big ones is septic. If you are not near a city and you need a sewer system, a septic system has to be designed by an engineer. Then you have to get permits, you have to dig it, you have to make sure it's the right size. And the cheapest septic I've seen is $37,500. And if it gets, pooped up, it could be more. What buildable actually means is this. Once you've got your water, your access, your utilities, you need to make sure the county will let you build on it. I've seen properties been illegally split, subdivided, in lots of counties in Colorado. So you got to check that zoning regulations. You got to make sure you have the right setbacks. Is there a building height? What other permits are you going to need? Ag zones are things that will be different than residential. So you need to make sure, do you have short-term rental use? Do you have commercial activity? What are your zoning regs that you need to know? And then you have CCRs, covenants and regulations. You got to know what those are. If you don't want an HOA, you still might have covenants and regulations. I've seen that you may only be able to paint your house yellow. That could be a deal breaker. Don't violate the covenants. If you don't know what they are, let's find those things out. Read the covenants. Here's a real takeaway. The purchase price of the land is just the beginning, but by the time you add up water, well, septic, power, road, permits, you're buying something for $50,000 and now it's $200,000 with all those extra things. That's not a reason necessarily to give up, but you need to know what you're buying and what your budget will allow you to do so that you're not surprised and build half a house. The buyers who do this well are the ones who go on in with their eyes wide open. They'll ask the hard questions, or better yet, we'll ask the hard questions and make the right contingencies on the contract so that you can end up with the land that you actually use. Every land purchase has a paper trail, county records, title history, recorded easements, water rights, mineral rights, survey plats. You need a surveyor. Most buyers never dig into this until something goes wrong. And the buyer who comes out ahead are the ones who dig first. So, let's get back to a survey. If a current survey doesn't exist on the property, then go get one. A survey will show you exactly where the property lines are and identify any easements for utilities, encroachments. You'd be shocked how many times the fence line actually might be not on your property line. In Colorado, on large parcels, you will often see maybe an ILC, but what you may need is an Alta survey or a full-blown survey that can be $1,000 to $3,000, maybe $5,000. Also, in Colorado, you have the right to understand your mineral rights. So, just because you think you have minerals doesn't mean you have the right to do that. Someone else may own the oil, the gas, the water, the minerals, everything. You only get the surface rights. So you need to understand what that means. So I don't care if you're buying in Teller County, El Paso County, Weld County, Larimer County, Cochise County. That's not a county, by the way. It might be, I don't know. You need to know all those things. Title insurance. You want to make sure, this is non-negotiable, you have title insurance. So when you close, you're going to get an owner's title insurance policy for the land. This is even more crucial than maybe the house. And the reason is because your land can have complex histories and someone else might think they have that, and you're going to make sure it's free and clear. So you have clear chain of ownership, no liens, you have easements, you know where those things are. The title company searches that and makes sure they give you a title policy, insurance policy to cover all those things in case someone shows up on your door thinking it's their land. Don't skip it. Don't save a couple $100. Work with an agent who knows land, who knows a good title company. And I'll be direct about this. Not every real estate agent has meaningful experience with land transactions. We did 1 year, 50. The due diligence is just different. Contract contingencies are different, which we want to know and ask the right questions. And which county departments to call. It takes time, it takes experience. And if you're buying land, working with someone who has done it before, you know they will know that specific market. In the Pikes Peak region, understanding El Paso County versus Teller County versus Fremont County or Lincoln County, we know this. The Colorado Division of Water is something else we can help you get to. So, these aren't something you want to learn on your first deal. Rely on us. Okay, so let's land this. Here's what we've covered. Water, water, water. Always know what your water rights or what you are allowed to permit with your water. Know your source. You need to know your legal rights too, and know what the costs are before you're going to make an offer. You want to have accessibility, utilities, and buildability. That's a lot of abilities. Understand what it costs to get all of that done. And read your covenants before you fall in love with the land. So do your homework. We're going to do ours. You're going to get a survey, and you're going to understand what you're buying. If it has mineral rights, if it doesn't, you're going to get title insurance. And work with us or someone that we can help you find that knows land in the market that you're going to buy. Because buying land in Colorado can be one of your best decisions you ever make. I genuinely, truly believe that. But it's the decision that deserves real preparation. Not just a drive-by, oh, that looks pretty. I want to buy that land and watch sunsets in the mountains.